Hey everybody, I want to share a few things with you today, and before we get started, just to let you know, I'm still testing this, doing different camera angles, lighting, sound, all that kind of thing. So this is not yet the official beginning of this podcast, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be on YouTube. This is a test. Secondly, this is not all going to be about politics, although the last one was about politics, and this one is going to be about politics. Or this one is actually about issues. So I love statistics. I have loved statistics all my life. From the time I was a little kid, I would do averages and percentages of everything I could find. I've always loved numbers, and so numbers are interesting because they point to the propensities of what our society desires, likes, and leans towards. So here we go. You ready? So let's start in. 65% of Americans support some form of universal health care. Number two, 88% of Americans support universal background checks when it comes to purchasing a weapon. Those two numbers come from about 9 different research groups that pooled their numbers together. I'm not going to go and name them all. Some of these I will name from the source. This source comes from George Mason and Yale. 85% of Americans believe in, and I hesitate to use the word believe in because this isn't like, you don't believe science, you either know it or you don't, and science tells us certain things like the law of gravity. You can disagree all you want with the law of gravity. We still have the law of gravity. So believe in here sounds, it's not the right word, not sure what else to say because this is the way the question was formed, but 85% of Americans believe in climate change. Okay? 70% of Americans support the right to gay marriage. That's from the New York Times and Siena University. 70% of Americans support laws to protect, and I'll be honest with you, I was a little hesitant on looking this one up. Because of the current political climate that we have, I was worried where this one might go, but I kind of, in fear, looked it up, and here's what it is. 70% of Americans support laws to protect transgender people from any kind of discrimination in employment, etc. This comes from the Public Religion Research Institute. Let me just throw in here, there was a commercial during our last presidential campaign, the 2020 campaign between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. The exit polling showed, and to this day, we hear a lot about this. In fact, I've watched some of the people on the campaign teams and laughing, celebrating, high-fiving, not in a hey, we got him kind of a thing. It was more of like, hey, it worked. And here's what worked. There was a commercial that aired that showed Kamala Harris saying that she supported certain things that were kind of, the way they worded it, it sounded extreme because of the clip they took. They didn't give you the whole sample. They just gave you a small piece of the sample of where she supported trans rights. And so the end of the commercial said, Kamala Harris supports they, them. Donald Trump supports you. That commercial ended up being the number one turning point in exit polling for the reason people voted against Kamala Harris and for Donald Trump. And yet, 70% of us support laws that would protect the rights of transgender people. 68% of Americans oppose book censorship in high schools. This is from the American Library Association. When I was in high school, I read a book that changed my life. It was called Black Like Me by John Howard Griffin. The story is that John Howard Griffin, hearing about Southern discrimination, not really believing the stories that he heard, traveled through the South and took an exact route and documented every place that he went as his own white person. He came back home. He bathed himself in brown shoe polish every day for 30 days, shaved his head, and then he took, appearing as a black person, he took the same route, went to the same stores, went to the same places, the same restaurants, and the results are the book Black Like Me by John Howard Griffin. I have my dog hitting stuff right now. That's why the camera is shaking. Jude, stop. So John Howard Griffin wrote that book, and I read it, and it changed my life. I didn't know, as a naive sophomore in high school, I had no idea. I lived in an all-white town. I didn't even know about this stuff. The book broke my heart, changed my life. I memorized I Have a Dream. I became this wild child for civil rights, and I would get in arguments with older adults, people in their 60s and 70s, and they would tell me all these bad things about Martin Luther King, and I would Martin Luther King is the greatest American of all time. It all started with the book Black Like Me. That book has been banned in a number of states from high school libraries. So in today's libraries, I would not be able to read that book. 55% of Americans support diversity, equity, and inclusion, otherwise known as DEI. DEI in our current culture is like a swear word. You might as well drop the F-bomb. I mean, if you say DEI, it's like, oh, that's terrible. But if you ask someone if they support diversity, oh, yes, of course. Do you support equity? Equality? Oh, yeah, I'm all for, oh, absolutely. Do you support inclusion? Bringing in everyone, allowing everyone to be a part? Oh, yes, of course. Well, that's DEI. And 55% of Americans support that. And let me tell you why we do support that as a whole. And let me just stop right here and say that in a presidential election, if you have 54% for one candidate and 46% for the other, that's called a landslide. It's like not even close. All right, so 55% here, it may not sound like a huge number. It's a huge number. 55% support DEI. And now let me go to this. And the University of Chicago has conducted this study 3 times. The first time was about 25 years ago, I believe, and they've recently done it again. And here's what they did. They sent out 10,000 job applications to major corporations, and because corporations or any employer is not allowed to discriminate against people depending on their race, what they did was they put identical qualifications, the oh my goodness, this is not a good time to go blank. I started to say the rap sheet, your resume, your resume. They put identical resumes for everyone, to all 10,000, and on 5,000 of them they put like Emily Jones, Tom Smith. Then they put black-sounding names that are more creative. LaQuisha something, Shaquille. We know some of these names from sports. They put more creative black-sounding names. In the first study that was done like 25, 28 years ago, those with white-sounding names were 8 times more likely to receive a callback for an interview. In the most recent one, 50% more likely. If you have a white-sounding name, you are 50% more likely to receive a callback with identical qualifications. We need DEI. And DEI is not saying, okay, we got this spot filled. Hey, we need a black person. Somebody go find somebody that's black. That's not what DEI is. We need a woman here. Can somebody go find a woman so she can do that? It's what it is equal access. That all men, we love to quote this, are created equal. We love to get nostalgic, maybe a little teary-eyed, and quote that. And yet we don't practice it. When we say, all men are created equal, yes, I believe that. Hey, would you like equality? Well, no. Isn't it amazing how we can change it just by the wording? DEI has become this swear word, and the reality is it's just giving equal access, equal opportunity to people of marginalized subcultures. Simply what it is. And yet, even with the negative publicity that it has received, we have 55% support for that. 63% of Americans believe that we should raise taxes on the wealthy. That's from Pew Research. 83% of Americans support funding and raising taxes for infrastructure, rebuilding roads, bridges, airports, etc. 83%. 75% of Americans support using tax dollars to expand public transportation. Lastly, 52% of Americans support this man's right to protest. Turlock's own Colin Kaepernick. A recent Gallup poll showed that 38% of Americans consider themselves conservative, 37% consider themselves moderate, and 25% consider themselves liberal. What I just read off to you averages out to about 68% on all of those issues. About 68%. 68% of you are liberals, and you don't know it. 68% of you agree with Bernie Sanders and AOC. And yet, all over Facebook, they're like the devil. And yet, if we go issue by issue, you agree with them. 68% of us do. And I'm wondering, somehow can we come to the place where we don't fall for the 30-second hogwash soundbite on a television commercial during a presidential campaign that's a complete misleading lie. Oh, I didn't finish. I'm sorry. I didn't finish the commercial. That deciding commercial. That commercial from Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, the trans commercial, that was taken when Kamala Harris was the Attorney General here in the state of California. And she had been asked, will you support the federal transgender laws that protect transgender people that had been enacted in the first Donald Trump administration? She was being asked, would you support the Trump administration's position on transgender rights? And she said, yes, she would. And then they turned it and used it against her, saying that Donald Trump didn't like that kind of stuff. And here we are. And you know, we kind of only have ourselves to blame, because the numbers say we don't support any of this garbage that's going on. And the numbers say that we totally support people like Bernie Sanders and AOC that get trashed on a daily basis. The numbers say we support this man, Colin Kaepernick, who merely found a way to use his voice to say, we need to be better. I'll finish this up in defense of Colin. My oldest son, Luke, went to high school with him, came home one day and said, Dad, there's this guy, you got to meet him if you get a chance. He's just the coolest, nicest. He's real tall. Like, he's everything. He's like this greatest athlete. He's just the nicest. We talk, and he treats me like just his best friend. Really, what's his name? Colin Kaepernick. And then he became who he became. Here in this town, in Turlock, California, at one place we had the Kaepernick dog. At another pizza place, there was the Kaepernick pizza. There was the Kaepernick this, the Kaepernick that. There was Turlock, the home of Colin Kaepernick signs. There was Kaepernick everywhere. And then Colin Kaepernick decided to say, we need to do better in our treatment of black people in police stops and in police protection, all of these kinds of things. And the Kaepernick dog was gone. The Kaepernick pizza was gone. The sign of home of Colin Kaepernick was gone. It's amazing, but still, the majority of us support. And I talked to a combat veteran. On this combat, I wanted to know, I want to look into the eyes of a person that has seen bullets and fired them. How do you feel about this? do you agree with him? He said, oh, it doesn't matter if I agree. I said, well, but I'm interested. He said, but it's totally beside the point. The point is that I took fire on my life to protect his right to say what he's saying. That's a little bit off the subject, but thank you for joining me. I love you all. And let's all be liberals. I'll see you next time.